Hello friends, and welcome to today's video where we're doing the second annual Groups Who Disappointed Me This Year. We're starting with Disappointment. I'm gonna have my top 10 artists later in like a week probably. I don't know. I haven't actually filmed it yet, but we're starting with Disappointment so we can end on a happy note. But first, yes, I have a can in this mug. I'm sorry, I love this mug with all my heart and soul, but I don't want to overdo the washing it. It's a gift from Bean, but like, I put a can in the mug. It's a double shot espresso thing from Starbucks, if you were wondering. I need coffee, but I didn't want to get the mug dirty because I've already washed it like 5 times in the singular week I've had it, and I don't want it to get like overwashed and all the writing come off. Speaking of Bean, we must give Bean a super special happy shout out. Yes, I said special twice. She's double special. Bean deserves it. But the reason why is that Bean agreed to do some editing for this video. Now hear me out. I'm not an editor. I really am not great at it. Like, you're gonna see, like, I'll tell you what Bean does. She's just gonna put pictures like right over here. But I can't edit. I'm gonna ask her to teach me how to do it, which I haven't actually told her. Bean, if I forgot to actually ask you before I send you this video, please teach me. But, yeah, she's gonna do that. So, like, shout out to Bean. We love Bean for offering to edit for me. We love her with all our heart and soul. She also gave me the mug, so she gets love for that too. But, like, Bean, you're the best person in the world. So, before we actually get started with my list, I do have some notes. Note number 1, to disappoint me, I need expectations. Like, here's the thing, right? If I don't expect anything from you, you can't disappoint me. Like, there are artists out there where I will never expect it to enjoy their title. I'm not gonna name names, but, like, I think we all have, like, that artist where it's like, your music just really isn't for me, so, like, I don't expect to enjoy it. So I'm not disappointed when I don't enjoy it. Or, like, if you never have a comeback, if you don't come back at all, I'm not disappointed. Like, I'm not going to be disappointed Big Bang released one song this year because I didn't expect them to really release an album. Like, Big Bang hasn't released an album since 2016. I'm not that disappointed they didn't release an album, even though, like, I do wish they did, just for... That's a separate issue. My point is, to be disappointing, you need to have expectations, and I don't have expectations for all these artists. Like, everyone on the list I do, but, like, in the world of K-pop, I don't have expectations for every artist, so, like, they're not all disappointing me. Also, with one exception, I do not actually blame any of the artists on this list because I know it's not actually their control. It's their management who's, like, responsible for all of this. So, like, when I say these artists disappoint me, I really mean their management disappointed me. I want to make that clear because I feel like we all have a tendency to blame the artist when, like, let's be real, K-pop idols, for the most part, have zero say in what they're doing. They don't get to pick their outfits, they don't pick their songs, like, they, for the most part, have, like, no say in what's going on, so, like, we can't really blame them. Lastly, just to be clear, to make sure everything is all happiness, these are just my opinions, and it's also just for fun. Like, at the end of the day, I still like every artist on this list, even if they have been disappointing me. Like, there's no artist on here that I have a vendetta against, that I hate with all my heart and soul, even though there are artists on here that were on here last year too. So we're 2 for 2 on disappointments, but, like, I still love them. So I want to make that clear, like, this is all for fun. None of this is meant to be malicious. Like, some of my favorite artists in the world are on this list. I just want to make that clear. So, starting us off, we have one of just the biggest disappointments to me of 2022, which is aespa. Now, I'm not gonna say that aespa, like, really flopped in 2022, but because they didn't. Like, they had a very successful year. However, I am gonna say they should have had more than one comeback. Like, I'm sorry. After the year they had in 2021, I really wanted more from 2022. Like, we really only had one release. I wanted at least 2 to 3. Like, I would have accepted 2 because Dreams Come True came out in December of 2021, but, like, we should have at least had 2 actual releases because think about the 2 real releases aespa had in 2021. They were both #1 on the Mountain charts. Like, they were both hit singles. Whereas, whilst Girls didn't do badly, it just didn't manage to achieve that hype, and I think they really could have gotten there if they had another comeback. Like, again, yes, Girls did quite well. It was at one point in time the highest selling album by a girl group in K-pop. It did amazingly well. But, like, it didn't manage to achieve those heights that they had with Next Level and Savage, at least if you ask me. Like, it didn't peak as high, it didn't do as well, it wasn't as much of a moment, and, like, I'm not saying we needed 3 albums this year. I'm not gonna say that. I think a well-timed single is perfection. Like, if you look at Next Level was a single. Next Level didn't have an album with it, and yet it managed to become an absolute monster of a hit. And, like, look at IVE. IVE has never put out anything more than a single album, and look at what they've done with that. And why? Because a well-timed single is all you need. Like, I need us to embrace the power of a single, okay? Like, there have been times where I'm like, if this group, who's, like, not the most popular, but, like, relatively popular, put out a single right now, they'd have a #1. Like, there was a time during Dynamite era specifically that I recall where I was like, if Oh My Girl put something out right now, they'd have a #1 song. To be fair, their next song was #1, but, like, we just need to embrace the power of a single, and that's what I wanted for aespa. Also, for what it's worth, I did want better from the title. Like, I'm not as much disappointed because aside from Dreams Come True, I don't really love any aespa title out there. So, like, I wasn't disappointed in what we got. However, I was at the same time. Like, it's not a disappointment in the sense of I had any expectations. It's just a disappointment in the sense of I wanted to like the song. In short, to summarize everything I've said, aespa should have had the slayest of slay years in 2022 if they just come back a little more consistently. Because, like, there were huge gaps in their comebacks where, like, if they just filled in that gap, like a comeback in, like, April or something, it would have been perfection. Alas, that's not what we got, and I'm disappointed. Next, we have our first boy group of this list, which is going to be The Boyz. Now, The Boyz are not on here in the aespa way where it's like I wanted more from them because, like, it's not that I really wanted more from them, it's more that I wanted better from them. Like, I used to be a huge The Boyz stan, like a die-hard stan. I have a signed copy of one of their albums. I loved them so much, and I loved them in part because of the titles. Like, their music used to absolutely slap, and since, like, I would say Reveal, it's never really been at that level. Like, it's never even gotten close. And on the one hand, like, I shouldn't be this disappointed because I haven't loved The Boyz title in years, but at the same time, I want to get back into them, but their music makes it so hard. Moving on, next up we have Oh My Girl, and Oh My Girl is on here for the same reason they were on here last year. I wanted more, like, I wanted more from them. Hear me out, okay? I'd accepted, like, I'd reached the point of acceptance that Oh My Girl was really only going to give us one comeback a year. Like, I accepted that fact. However, there was one key difference. When I reached that level of acceptance, Oh My Girl was putting out hits. Like, when they only released Nonstop and Dun Dun Dance like, on their own, it was fine, because both of those songs were hits. Real Love, whilst I do enjoy her to a certain extent, she kind of flopped. So when your single is flopping, you might as well have a comeback. Also, while we're discussing Real Love, I was somewhat disappointed in her as well. Like, I do enjoy her, do not get me wrong, I think it's a good song. However, I consider Oh My Girl to have some of the most slay titles of all time, like, especially going back the past couple years. Nonstop in particular, one of the greatest songs of all time, but also, like, Secret Garden, the 5th season. Like, Oh My Girl has had some god-tier titles in their career, and Real Love just isn't on that level. Like, I can't explain what it is about it. Like, it sounds like it would be an Oh My Girl B-side that they just decided to make it the title. I feel like that's the perfect way to put it, and it disappointed me. On to our next group, which is my second favorite group that's on this list, TXT. TXT is a bit of a mixed bag as for why they're on here. First of all, I did just want more from them. They released a singular mini album this entire year, and yeah, they're coming back in January, that's true. January is not 2022, so for what they put out in 2022, they didn't do that much. And for what it's worth, of that one album, I only liked 2 of the songs on it, neither of which was the title, which we will get to. However, like, just in terms of the amount of songs they put out that I actually enjoyed, it was quite a low number. And speaking of the title, let's get into her. I personally, again, just for me, you can disagree, but personally, Good Boy Gone Bad, if you ask me, is their worst title to date. It's so loud and it's so annoying and I just cannot stand it. To be fair, I didn't like either of their titles last year either, like, neither one of them was for me, but I understood the vision. They were in their rocker era and I accepted it. I was okay with it. I was here for it. Maybe not here for it, but I was okay with it. Whereas Good Boy Gone Bad, it really just sounds like a bad boy group title. There's nothing super unique about it. There's nothing that makes me think like, oh, okay, fine, I see the vision, I get what they were going for. It's just, to me, a bad song. And that, to me, is a disappointment. So to summarize, not only did I dislike the majority of the songs that TXT put out, I also wanted them to just do more in general. So yeah, TXT was disappointing me on pretty much every level. Next we have just what is factually the most successful group on this list, at least in terms of 2022 success, which is GIDL. Now, if you told me in 2021, like if you told me December 2021, the levels of success Giddle was going to have in 2022, I would have been so here for it because I loved Giddle in 2022. I was a huge Giddle stan. However, if you then subsequently played me Tomboy and told me this was the song that was going to give them this level of success, I would have found a way to alter the space-time continuum. I would have changed the timeline. I don't know how I would have done it, but I would have found a way because I hate that song. Like, I'm sorry, Tomboy is just one of the worst songs I've ever heard. For those who don't know, the musical Wicked, right? It has that song, What Is This Feeling? Which is all about the two main characters, Elphaba and Glinda, hating each other, loathing each other. That song is just the perfect embodiment of how I feel about Tomboy. I loathe everything about that song. From the verses that I just don't like, to the obnoxious censor, to the awful background music, like, all of it, I can't stand. I accept Nude. Nude is acceptable to me. I don't like it, but I can live with it. Tomboy, on the other hand, I want that song banished from history. So yeah, I am very disappointed with their releases this year. I truly hope they get better in 2023, however, I am not optimistic about it. We need a bit of a palate cleanser after Giddle, so let's have some irony. My number one artist of 2021 is going to be the next one on this list, which is SIX. Now, hear me out. This is a little complicated, because SIX, for me, slayed in 2022. I love every single song they put out this year. However, they only put out 4. This is also following them putting out what is, to me, the greatest album of 2021 with their Full, and also the greatest title track of 2021 with Cinema. So, like, to say I had high hopes for them in 2022 would be an understatement. And it's true, like, I love everything they put out, I just wish they put out more. Also, for what it's worth, in 2022, SIX went on a world tour and then announced their next world tour, and neither world tour are coming to me, and I'm so mad, especially because I am going to be in New York the same weekend SIX is there for my friend's wedding. Like, one of the absolute besties in the world is getting married that weekend, and I can't go to their concert because I have to, like, deal with her bachelorette party, and, like, by deal with, I mean go. Like, I make it sound like I don't want to be there. I obviously am so excited for her, but, like, it just feels like an extra gut punch that I'm literally going to be in New York City when they're there and that I can't go. I just noticed that Binny was crooked that entire time. And on the one hand, I would refilm it and fix it. But on the other hand, I was filming for 30 minutes and I don't really want to spend another 30 minutes refilming that. So I fixed her now. All is well. I hope no one cared that deeply. Anyway, speaking of palettes, next up, we have our one and only soloist on this list, which is IU. Now, you might be wondering, what did IU do to disappoint you, Simon? And the answer is quite simple. IU released exactly nothing this year. And what makes it so much worse for me is that IU had such a slay year in 2021. Like, I'm sorry, Lilac? One of the greatest songs of all time. I will die on that hill. Like, IU's Full was just such a moment. Plus, Strawberry Moon, it's not for me, but, like, it at least happened. It was at least something. We had nothing in 2022, at least nothing that was worth mentioning, and that just disappoints me. And part of me wants to be like, oh, maybe for her 15th anniversary, which is going to be next year, we'll get like a bit of a moment. But like at this point, IU is rich enough and successful enough, she could never release anything again, and she will die rich. So like, I know that she's going to release something at some point in the future, but like, I'm just terrified that every time she goes a year without releasing anything, I'm just so scared that we're never going to get anything for like 5 years. That fear just lives within me and I hate it and I want to come back. Moving on, next up we have another group I predicted was going to slay in 2022, which is ENHYPEN. And to be fair, I was not wrong. ENHYPEN did indeed commercially slay this year. They had a phenomenal year when it comes to commercial success. However, when it comes to quality, it's been a bit dark. Now, I feel like you need some backstory before I really get into my disappointment levels. So, for some context, I loved Tamed Dashed. I listened to it when I was taking these notes because I was like, I wonder if it still bangs in the way it did. And it does. That song is a masterpiece. And I remember so vividly when like year-end promotions were going on, like the Gaios and everything, I fell in love with that song. And it literally made its way to being one of my top songs of 2021. However, I told myself then, I was like, if their next title slaps, because they were releasing a comeback in January, and I was like, if the title slaps, we'll do it. We'll become a true ENHYPEN stan. We'll get into them. We'll go all the way. And Blessed Cursed isn't bad, but it didn't slap. So I was like, okay, next time. Like, next time their title track might be good. They usually alternate, at least for me. They alternate between a good title and a bad title. So I was like, next time. Next title should be great. And then they released Future Perfect. I hate Future Perfect. I don't like it. It annoys every part of me. Like, every fiber of my being is annoyed by that song. So the reason I'm so disappointed in Hypen is that I wanted them to slay this year, not just for themselves, but for me. Because I wanted them to slay so I could justify getting into them. And then they decided to put out one of the most obnoxious songs I've ever heard, and I'm very disappointed in that fact. Anyway, we have reached the final girl group on this list, which is Red Velvet. Now, Red Velvet is here for one reason and one reason only. I wanted better titles. Like, they are here just for the quality, because Red Velvet, if you ask me, they have some god-tier titles to their name. Like, I'm sorry, Miss Psycho, Miss Russian Roulette. Like, Red Velvet has god-tier titles to their name, and whilst I don't expect a masterpiece with every single comeback, I expect a higher quality. I have higher expectations for Red Velvet, and they failed to meet them. Like, Feel My Rhythm is just kind of boring. It gives me absolutely nothing, and Birthday is just too loud. It's too loud for me, so I didn't like either of their comebacks this year. And again, I don't expect god-tier masterpieces from every single Red Velvet comeback, but I expect to at least enjoy the titles, and the fact that I didn't like either one, like, we're 0 for 2. That's not ideal, and I'm disappointed. Last but not least, we have not just the final group on this list, but my favorite group. And not my favorite group on this list, my favorite group in general, which is Astro. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking to yourself, Simon, why is Astro on this list? Because they had a sizable number of comebacks. There were 3 Astro-related albums this year, which is true. Also, Candy Sugar Pop, absolute pop masterpiece, also true. However, my issue comes more so in the quality of their subunits and also the schedule of their releases. First, let's talk quality. So, as I just said, Astro's title, Candy Sugar Pop, absolute pop perfection, masterpiece, god-tier song. Like, love her, no complaints there. My complaints reside with the subunits, because, like, for Juno and Minhyuk, I didn't have the highest hopes just because, like, I wasn't expecting to love it in the way that I would love a Moonbin Sana title, and I didn't love it. It's not bad by any means, but, like, it's not phenomenal either, so that was a little disappointing. But Moonbin Sana really got me, because Bad Idea is one of the greatest pieces of music Astro has ever released, and their titles for their mini, they're not bad. They're not. The Refuge singles, not bad. But neither one of them, either Ghost Town or the main title Who, are like, neither one are at that level, or even remotely at that level, and I want to love their next title, because they're coming back soon, and hopefully I'll love it, but I can't help but be disappointed in what they gave me in 2022. My other issue, my other key point of disappointment, is the timeline. Like, we have heard basically nothing from Astro for the past 6 months. Whereas we had 3 comebacks in the first half of the year, we've had literally nothing since June. It has been forever since Astro released anything at all. And that is a problem for me. Like, on the one hand, I get it. Youngjoon's in the military. I get that they don't want to have, like, a 5-member comeback, but I think they need to come to terms with that, and I think they need to do it. Because, like, I'm sorry, we can't go the next decade, but while they all go through their enlistments without an Astro comeback. I can't do it. I'll go crazy. So, like, they need to come to terms with it. They can give me a 5-member comeback, or at the very least give me 5-member year-end promotions. Like, I'm sorry, we had no stages of the KBS Gaio, no stages of the SBS Gaio, and I'm 90% sure they're not scheduled to appear at the NBC Gaio, but I could be wrong on that one. But, like, the SBS Gaio is the one that gets me, because Anu was hosting that bitch. Anu was hosting the SBS Gaio. Are you really going to look me in the eye and tell me that SBS wouldn't have let Astro perform? Of course they would have. I guarantee they would have cut one of the songs that they gave to another group to let Astro perform if it meant that Anu would host. And the fact that it means that Fantagio probably didn't even ask if Astro could perform bothers me to no end, because I want another comeback. Like, I just wanted their promotions more spread out. That, I think, would have been the key fix. If they moved the Moonbin Sana album from being before the Astro comeback to after the Astro comeback, like maybe have it come out in June or July, that would have been fine for me. Alas, that's just not what we got, and I'm disappointed. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Bean. You're such a slay. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Like, you're literally the best person ever, but, like, shout out to Bean again. But thank you for watching also. You can like and subscribe if you want to, or don't. I will be okay either way. You can also comment your thoughts on my disappointments. Tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that I'm right. Tell me who disappointed you this year. Tell me whatever you want. You can also follow me on Twitter at @s_reviews. I will link that in the description. And yeah, thank you again for watching. Bye!